Let's build.
Here it is. All them little son boy we are going on and go on like so well then them are the champion. Let me tell you this, I will electrocute a son boy and let them hold them corner. Cause when it comes to music is we are the gargants, so come.
My name is Yves Darbouze, and this is the Pan-African Product. Today, we're going to go right into it. We're going to go right into it, folks. At least try. In my industry, there's a term. It's called WIIFM. What's in it for me? Whenever people in my profession, product managers, senior product managers, product owners, scrum masters, well, maybe not scrum masters. Scrum masters more so organize and take care of things. But the product people, the people who are designing the product, sometimes product managers are more project managers. There's a beginning and there's an end. There's a completion for project managers. That's typically the difference between the two. But both of our professions, both of those titles and roles, they come from the idea that millions of dollars get lost because companies go on expeditions for clients and customers and conversions that are not there. A market is what everyone looks at. Oh, look how large the market size. But does that mean you have a customer? What's in it for me? Why would I participate in this? And that's the question that the 54 nation leaders, right? What's in it for them? What do they get out of all of this? And that's a great question, because when I let economists look at my plan, I'm talking about economists teaching on the college level, smart people, on the younger side of the spectrum. But I wanted people who do math, that understands this type of math, and to get their feedback. And their feedback, overwhelming, 5 people. I tried to get 3. Out of the 3, 2 of them said, "Hey, I want to let my buddy look at this. I want to let my professor look at this." And everyone came back and said the same thing. You will never get 54 African nations to agree on anything. You just won't. You won't get consensus. And that's when I started thinking about WIIFM. What can we offer that would get the African leaders to participate? What can we give every single nation by coming together and signing a treaty, a compact, a declaration? But really, it's what the euro is at first. You take steps with it. The first step is having one currency, and that has nothing to do with the WIIFM. But it's important because only they can. When we're talking about will of mind, only they can, exert that will. And if you're an African leader who has gotten all the way to the top, you know how to exert your will. A lot of you aren't just installed. A lot of you had to fight your brothers and sisters and cousins for the role. I want to make an offer you can't refuse. I want to structure something within the paradigm, and with that, it's going to be a lot of hand wringing. Oh, you brought on this despot, this tyrant, this villain. You've whitewashed his whole history. Well, yeah, every one of us are going to get new beginnings in the Pan-African state. We do this thing. We're not the same anymore. We're not even the same in the way that the world looks at us. And I don't want to spend too much time on that, but let's look at what we can offer, right? The number one thing that I like is the debt elimination. The debt elimination, right? You become a member of the Pan-African state. If you're a member nation, you now do not practice in usury, right? We don't do that anymore. So the debt that the IMF is holding over your country's head, the World Bank is holding over your country's head, some of these Western banks, some of these South African banks that operates like the West, this is not how we operate. Usury has to go, not just because of our brethren who practice Sharia law. It's the history of it. Anywhere usury is practiced, chaos ensues. Anywhere usury is prolific, nations fail. And a lot of these leaders, out of desperation, had to sign these agreements. Out of fear, sometimes had to sign these agreements. Out of fealty to these tyrants, the real tyrants, the real despots, who tell you that even when you don't need it, you have to get a World Bank loan. Why? Because that is how they make their money. They make their money off of money. That's the way this whole thing works. And it's important that you understand that. So you become a member of the Pan-African state. We make this currency, which is kind of the first step, right? And we all sign the same, similar type of treaty to the euro. Debt elimination almost happens after, right? Number two, right? You now are going to get a budget, right? The budget will be decided by how many students do you have? How many, hospitals do you need? Who's making that determination? How did you get to that understanding? Do you have roads that lead to these places? What is your infrastructure plan? You get a budget from the Pan-African state, a federal budget, right? I don't like how that looks. Now, this federal budget has nothing to do with your country's budget. What you pay to run your country, it's up to you. But we, as the Pan-African state, has an edict to the people. Your sewage, your plumbing, your sewage, plumbing, same thing. Your water, it's kind of still the same thing. Your electricity, your energy, your food. All of these things have to be improved with the guidance of your country. What is wrong? Where are the problem spots? How do we get there? What do the people want? All these things have to be answered in order for us to be successful. So now you're not only getting your debt eliminated from the Pan-African state, you're getting a budget. It'll probably be the exact same size as your IMF loans, but most likely more. What do you need? That's where the tribal council comes in, and they lobby for the funding. They lobby for schools, hospitals, roads, energy. All of these things are now possible because of the unity, right? And you're probably thinking none of this deals with the ego of people who have been spoon-fed absolute power for a long time. And we know absolute power corrupts. How are we going to change their minds? Well, one way is through becoming a founding father. And what that means, right? You go from villain to hero, because Pan-Africanism is a populist endeavor. The African people want it. We're tired, all of us, even us here in the diaspora, even us here in New York City. We're tired. It's the conversation me and my wife have all the time. How much worse is this going to get? I just want to feel free. I don't want to go to the supermarket and feel cheated. I don't want to go to a job interview and feel underrepresented. I want to live in a space where I matter, right? And that's why anyone who would bring that to the African people, anyone who would bring this common sense to the African people, could be thought of as a founding father of something greater. Some of you are jerk-offs. Some of you are dickheads. I'm not going to say which, but this is your shot. If the best thing you could do is go and pose and posture and serve the West, you're going to be remembered as a piece of garbage for the rest of your life, even if you were trying to do the right thing in earnest. However, how you are remembered, how you're thought of going forward is based off of this very moment, that section of history where you were the leader. What did you make happen? You built a bridge, couple roads, small, inefficient schools. We want freedom. And in this moment in time, freedom is a matter of will, your will. I say this to the African leaders, and I ask for those who do stumble across this content, who do find this and enjoy it, in your countries, help them come to this thing. Set it up. Allow me to come and speak to those folks, and I'll show them a better way than what they're doing right now. I'll show them a better way than neoliberalism. And we can do this. This is totally possible. Now, lastly, I want to talk to you about the founder's pension. I even gave it a nice sounding name so that we understood what it was. We have to lift these 54 gentlemen, 55, 56. I think we'll get to 60 at one point. But these four things don't matter, or without the fourth thing, the founder's pension. The founder's pension is going to sound like a lot of you say, "Oh, you have to bribe a president?" Yes. Yeah, it's not for some it will be a bribe, for others it will be clarification. What we're trying to do with the founder's pension, which is 1 billion USD for each of the Pan-African leaders. That's right. Each one of them, whether they resign or not, get a pension of $1 billion. Now, why is the Pan-African state doing that? If you look at how Trump is operating in America, it's weird. It's gross. It shows you that America runs on greed. It shows you that America operates on this idea that greed as your core operating principle is a good thing. And the results are what you see. Nothing good comes from greed. Only hate comes from greed. But if you look at Trump and his sons, they're minting worthless meme coins. They're threatening countries because America is $38 trillion in debt. So for these oligarchs, milking the last of it or making sure they have most of it is their guiding principle. It's what leads them. It what puts them into their process. What we want to do is to make the founder's pension such a strong thing that none of the Western leaders can offer you something to change your mind, right? I don't see many African leaders in the Epstein files, but I'm sure that most of them hold compromise over you. If you have $1 billion in the bank, what does it matter? The African Union was born to fail because it doesn't have any money in it. It requires for the member nations to put money into it. It's ridiculous. It's why it's not going to work. It's the UN funds it. It's a foolish cosmetic idea. But if the first holders, when we get past the pre-sale before the currency goes on the market, we let some nations buy it. We let some nations acquire the currency early so that they can sell it and make some interest. A different form of interest, but more of a fee than anything, but it's not debt. It's not money making money. What we're going to be able to do is write a check to each one of these leaders. Not all at once. We don't give it all at once. We give it in tranches. You sign the Declaration of Unification, that's $150 million. You sign you sign the treaty for the currency between all 54, 55, whatever we're doing this week, nations, and you sign that, you get another tranche of it, another $150 million. We want these leaders to be rich. We want them to be above reproach, not for them, for us, for the little people, right? We want to know you've been compensated so well that anything else that you do to thwart the Pan-African state should hang you. You should be put up against a wall and shot. You're not being bought off. For the first time, you're not being bought off. You're being made above reproach. I can give you, if we follow my plan, I can give you, number one, WIIFM. I can express value in our currency that will get us to this point. We'll be a debt-free continent. We'll be a continent that every country has their budgetary needs met. We'll be a continent that, instead of having despots dancing in discos in France, wearing Versace from head to toe, instead of that being the vision of you, you can now be seen as a founding father of the greatest nation on earth. Could you imagine that? You wouldn't trade the way they talk about you, the way Donald Trump talks to you, the way other world leaders look down on African leaders. Wouldn't you be thrilled to at least now be seen as functional humans that have agency, that have self-determination, that have strength of character? They rob us, make us poor, and then tell us we're horrible for stealing or being corrupt. Right? You create the rules and the conditions to create corruption. You do nothing but find new ways to create more corruption out of that corruption, and then you create a cycle of violence, imprisonment, and failure in life that at the end of it, we can't even remember or tell that you're the one that caused it. And I'm not talking about the 54 African leaders. I'm talking about the Western powers. I'm talking about imperialism. Here is an opportunity to thwart it without you losing anything, without you having to give up anything, right? The founder's pension is a way that all of our leaders are rich. That happened when America was 13 colonies. It was 13 colonies represented by rich men, rich, powerful men, landowners, slave owners. They gave up their jurisdictions in order to become something more powerful. You continue in this system, in this process, in this political construct, you continue to keep your borders, you continue to be the ruler of that land. You now have your representatives that represent your thinking as the 54 members of the executive house, and that executive house is legitimate. We can have legitimacy backed by military strength, backed by economic solvency, economic power. All of these things are possible with will, and it needs the will of these guys. It starts with you. You have it. I know you wouldn't be where you are if you did it, but you got up here, you got desperate, you got scared, they put a gun to your head, and you had no backup. The Pan-African state lets you rethink that. Lets you be the person that you thought you were going to be when you got into politics or however you got into power. This is doable. I want you to show this video to someone who is attached to a president. Because in Africa, everything is about connections. Connections. Mr. Yves, I have connections. I know. We call it contact in Haiti. It's the same thing. It's very African, that system. And we need to connect to each other because what's coming is far worse. This is doable. This is possible. The best minds in Africa should be thinking about it. Let's think about it together. My name is Yves Darbouze, and this has been the Pan-African Product.